So why would I be making this video? I think there's, yeah, it's Comic-Con going on. We've got the Flash. Yeah, we got some Flash new Flash trailer. We definitely need to talk about this right now. What is up, speedsters? Welcome to a brand new Flash video on Season 6. If I seem different in this video today, it's just because I got back yesterday during Comic-Con from my flight. If you guys, well, some of you guys may already know, been on vacation the past few weeks. That's what all of those videos were. They were pre-recorded, so I am tired due to lack of sleep and everything else. Major jet lagged all the way to the Speed Force levels, but you know, I can't not talk about this, can't not cover all of these videos, so we're going to get straight into it, guys. I'm going to show you the new trailer that they showed at Comic-Con for the Flash Season 6, and there's a whole bunch of info coming out of the panels. If you're wondering about other videos such as Arrow, I will try and get that up today as well. There's Titans, kind of new info. They didn't show the trailer outside that, but this isn't a Titans video. Doom Patrol, but I'm just like putting this all out there for any other fans of any other videos. There's also Westworld stuff. There's just so much stuff, and I'm jet lagged. But just to make sure you don't miss a single video, everyone, be sure to hit that subscribe button with the notifications on. Go ahead and like this video if you do go on to enjoy hearing about my opinions and everything like that on the Flash. But let's go ahead and watch this trailer and get right into all the news. So that trailer was very, very interesting, and all of the news coming out of the panel of Comic-Con. And how do I know this? I wasn't at San Diego Comic-Con. There's a lot of panel recaps online. You guys can find this out for yourselves. But we're going to go over everything that we know so far about the Flash Season 6. And you know, well, let's talk about that trailer first of all. What were your impressions, Boba? First of all, that was interesting. I have to admit, like, wholeheartedly, I'm not like blown out of my seat, but I don't think that was meant to give off that vibe. Of course, I'm excited, but I'm more intrigued. I'm more intrigued about how this can go down. As for like Bloodwork as the main villain, as you guys know, this like news has been circulating for quite a while now. But he's not just the only villain. As you guys may have heard, the main villain, well, there's going to be two main villains, yes, of this season, and they've described that as kind of doing the Flash Season 6 in terms of the story arc being like two graphic novels. So, you know, part 1 and, you know, going into Crisis, and I'm guessing by the time Crisis is over, perhaps, Bloodwork will be that guy. He will be that villain. But then the second graphic novel, if you will, of the Flash's Season 6 story will be another villain that they didn't mention. So any of you hoping for example, Godspeed, even though we're getting him in episode 1 by the looks of it, which I don't know, yeah, they just got to wrap him up, and that's going to annoy fans again. I don't know, but that's, you know, I digress. Could still be Red Death. But you know, I'll touch upon this a little bit later, but if you guys saw the Entertainment Weekly stuff with Grant Gustin and what he had to say about The Flash, he said what he would like to see. So he was like, I want to see Wally West. You know, I feel like we've done everything we could do, you know, and you know, I'm just excited to see what happens. But he also said that he would like to see the Reverse Flash's story nipped in the bud, so to speak, like in terms of how, you know, finally like wiping that shadow out of his corner and being done with that story. Not in a bad way, but like, let's complete that story. So I'm not saying the second half's villain will be the Reverse Flash, but it's got me thinking in that trailer as well. Of course, we saw a couple of other things. Now, I'll say this about the Arrow trailer as well. Obviously, a lot of it like was recappy. We did see that new character. I believe there isn't like a whole bunch of news, or if any, that came out about him at Comic-Con. I could be wrong. I may fail to mention a couple of things in this video about Flash Season 6 stuff, just because there's so much to talk about. But this is the new character coming to the Flash cast, if you will, this season. Very interesting. As far as I'm aware, we don't know too much about him, but he seems to be like experimenting with some techie stuff, which is perhaps why, you know, obviously he will get kind of included into the Team Flash themselves, because he will be very helpful. Now, as for the main villain, Bloodwork, back to him for a second. Like, you know, he gives off a good impression. We saw his little demonic eyes at the end. His name is actually Dr. Ramsey. He seems to also be an acquaintance, a previous acquaintance of Dr. Snow before. They have some kind of history, so that's like kind of a way he knows, you know, a bit of Team Flash already. He obviously goes on to speak about Team Flash and the kind of, well, I don't hate me for saying this, and it is kind of like a villain motive anyway, but it was kind of cicada-y like in terms of how he viewed the heroes as kind of like a cancer. Like, he was like, there's many cancers in this world. world, and then he went on to essentially say that he wanted to prevent death, and, you know, one of the kind of really bad things about the world was the heroes. So I think the way he's viewing it, and the reason why I say in a cicada-like way, is that he wants to get rid of heroes because his ultimate goal is to prevent death in general, and I feel like he views heroes as doing more harm than good. You know, despite their best efforts, they probably cause more death than saving lives. So that is going to be probably his MO for the season. Obviously, it's going to be a lot more complicated than that, but just to sum it up in a little paragraph, that's probably more or less Dr. Ramsey's kind of gig there. As for his powers, it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt that into the show, because as I always say, you can't copy and paste things. They don't copy and paste things out of the comics. It's always kind of loose adaptations. So super interesting to see how he's going to hold his own against Team Flash. Now, as for other little tidbits, being the right word, of new footage, if you will, we saw Barry just saying, you know, just tell me what I can do about it. Now, he could just be reacting to seeing the Crisis article, just saying, or maybe even Bloodwork or something like that. Instead of just like worrying about it and panicking about it, he's like, just tell me what I can do about it. Now, I just had in my mind the immediate scene after that will be Gideon saying like, nothing, I'm afraid, like that. And I think Team Flash is going to have to accept that going forward. Obviously, they won't give up about saving Barry, and definitely Iris won't, but I can just imagine that might be a response to them talking about the article. And why do I say this? Why do you say this, Boba? Because season 6, I was about to say season 5, picks up right after season 5. Yeah, like, so it's not like a massive time jump, at least not straight away. Apparently, it is going to pick more or less right up after season 5, kind of like how season 5 picked up right after season 4. And when they did their time jump, if you guys remember, there wasn't any word about it. Like, we actually just skipped forward several months into the future without any blatant thing said. So I wonder if they're going to do the same thing. Maybe not, since Crisis is a big thing, and we're going to have to catch up to Oliver, you know, going out with the Monitor, because that was way into the future after Mia was born, if you guys remember, if you watch Arrow. So we're going to have to catch up with that kind of time frame, because that was the beginning of Crisis on Infinite Earths. There is so much to talk about, so, you know, I hope you're still with me here. I want to move on to other parts of information, which I've got written down in little bullet points here. So Carlos Valdez, if you weren't aware already, is staying. This is a big thing. I don't think I need to rehash what was going on there. If I'm being honest, I think he was, you know, contemplating it. You know, otherwise this would maybe have never been a thing. But, you know, he's staying now. That's all that matters. And he'll be adjusting to his normalcy this season, if you will, without any Vibe powers, which isn't a bad thing at all. I'm just happy that Carlos Valdez is staying as Cisco. One of the biggest, greatest things about the show, paired with obviously Barry Allen and Tom Cavanagh, you know, the Welleses themselves, my favorite things of the show. He's obviously going to be playing a very similar role to season 1, going back to just being a scientist and a techie savvy dude. Maybe he can help mentor the new guy we see in the trailer as well. It's going to be very, very interesting to see Cisco without his powers, and will he ever get them back at any point? I think that will completely undermine what they just did, but you never know. Never say never. Now, more new things we learned from the panel is, of course, Iris's move to journalism. Now, this is kind of like a no-brainer in the sense that she was already moving there, but I remember Iris was talking in an interview, Candace Patton, and she was like, kind of like, it's finally here, like emphasis on finally. She kind of really wanted this for a character, and we've been teased with this before, even said from the previous showrunner that is coming with like little to nothing really actually having been in the previous season. But now apparently, guys, it is coming. So if you wanted that arc for Iris where she's getting it to the point where she's even going to be hiring you know, employees to, you know, I mean, that should just say that they're going full dive, hopefully, into her writing career. And with Crisis, granted that it's been brought forward by years, she still needs to write that article. So, you know, one way or another, that's still going to happen. Even though, actually, at the same time, Barry is somehow going to survive. You know, it's going to be really weird. Like, there's been things that have been solidified since season 1, but are ultimately going to change, since we're going to have a Barry Allen in season 6. Sorry, well, yeah, for the rest of season 6 after Crisis, and season 7 and stuff. So, you know, that stuff goes without saying, but, you know, super hyped. To be honest, I really actually am about Iris getting more of... I've wanted more for a character. I've enjoyed her at parts, but I felt like what was missing for me was this. And now I'm getting this. Now we're getting this. I'm going to be happier in terms of watching Iris on screen. getting exactly what she deserves to do, which is actually her flipping role in the comics. I mean, come on. But at the same time, guys, both Barry and Iris will be dealing with the loss of Nora. Supposedly, Barry's just kind of trying to bury it and move on, whilst Iris just can't quite do that. And, you know, to kind of continue their marriage in a stable rate going forward. But not only just for the marriage, but for Team Flash, they both need to kind of come to terms with the loss of Nora. Since she got erased from existence, it makes sense, you know, to grieve this, even though she's still, I guess, inevitably going to be born, which is a question within itself. Is Iris going to get pregnant by the end of this season? It's also kind of weird. Maybe not, since Barry's going to survive Crisis. I digress once again. You know, my mind is racing right now with all of this new info. But yeah, Barry and Iris, a little bit of marital tension and drama, but obviously so after losing their daughter who traveled back in time to spend time with them. It's weird. New season, new worlds. That is just, I hope that's always a thing I'm going to say for as long as The Flash is on. Now, there isn't too much information about this because they don't want to give a lot away. It's the same as every single Comic-Con in previous years. They don't really give us too much. But he said that this new worlds is going to be adventurous, which is interesting, but not only adventurous, but also this kind of new central version and kind of like a swashbuckler of sorts. So take that as you will. I'm just going to leave it there. But, you know, I love Tom Cavanagh. They usually come up with a really good Wells. And yes, to be honest, I really enjoyed HR. I mean, I know some people have different kind of opinions about different Welleses, but I've really enjoyed each one for who they are. So I'm guaranteed, I feel, for me to enjoy this Wells as well. But, you know, that being said, they did, you know, talk about Thorne's return. Since, you know, Tom Cavanagh plays Thorne quite a lot more than Matt Letcher. They would have to ask about that. Now, they said, while the cast isn't sure that will happen or when that will happen, because there are other stories to tell, it doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. And obviously, shite is going to go down during Crisis between Thorne, because he was like, I'll see you in our next Crisis. But this takes me back to the Entertainment Weekly thing. You know, you guys may have seen that, you know, with all the new promo stuff. There was lots of photos of the new suit, which reminds me, guys, Barry's new suit. I said I wanted gold lining in it. Just a quick segue, and we got it. Basically, same suit, but more gold lining in the legs and the torso. I love it, by the way, if you were just wondering about my opinion. But that's all there really is to say about this new suit. We haven't seen the cowl, but I'm hoping it's chin strappy. But that will be coming back, but we haven't actually seen it from the Entertainment Weekly stuff. But anyway, back to the Thorne stuff, which, you know, I said reminds me of Entertainment Weekly, which is where we saw that new Flash suit, because he said, what would he like to see? And I've kind of already been over this, but he was like, I would like to see that Thorne story nipped in the bud. So it kind of makes me think, in terms of, whilst we're talking about Tom Cavanagh, could we get him as the part 2 to season 6? I wouldn't hold my breath at all, just because, you know, they could do Red Death. He was mentioned by Captain Singh in the future, kind of memory sequency thing. So I would like to see Red Death still. I would prefer Reverse Flash to be held back for a glorified ending for the Flash, like this ultimate, you know, goddamn slam dunk of a story. You know, like how Arrow seems to be going out strong with their trailer. Like that seems pretty cool. Do that with Barry Allen. Save the Reverse Flash. As cool as it would be to do it this season too. But you guys, let me know what you think there. Now, very quickly about Ralph, they of course mentioned how he's going to be heading towards Sue, but they also said that his own family is going to be slightly involved in some way or another, which is interesting. I totally forgot to mention this about Tom Cavanagh as well, but he will be playing Pariah, which is super interesting. Now, I'm not going to give a bunch, you know, away in case you haven't read Crisis, even though this is an adaptation of Crisis, but they seem to be doing a heck of a lot of interesting you know, comic accurate things with Crisis, if you've heard a lot of stuff coming from like Mark Guggenheim and whatnot, and what's been said, but he has quite a strong relation to like the Anti-Monitor. So it's going to be super interesting to find out how, you know, I don't think it obviously is going to be well, it could be I don't know how they're going to do it, but Tom Cavanagh is playing Pariah. And they said we're going to find out more towards when Crisis, you know, the main crossover part of Crisis starts, as to how Tom Cavanagh, you know, the guy who is usually a Wells, will be playing that role. So super excited about that. And apparently his portrayal is very enticing and menacing and all of that stuff. So, wow. If you love Reverse Flash Tom Cavanagh, I think we're going to get a chance to see him in a very other kind of just as engaging performance. But whilst we're talking about the Anti-Monitor guys, LaMonica Garrett, even though this is, you know, this is kind of all shows related, will be playing the Anti-Monitor, which isn't really a surprise because, you know, all the monitors, you know, blah, blah, blah. But super interesting because Mark Guggenheim showed us a photo of the Anti-Monitor. I'm happy with this. This is concept art that you're seeing on screen. This is our first taste at what the Anti-Monitor actually looks like and what it'll be like in the crossover, so I'm very, very hyped. And this video is going on and on and on. I'm going to end it with Grant Gustin says that the show feels more adult, because I really wanted to include this, like it matured, and you can feel it getting darker and going down that road, which to a person like me, a fan like me, is exactly what I want to hear. Don't get me wrong, I've been a fan of every season of The Flash in one way or another. Favorite seasons are 1 and 2, just like most people's. Season 3 I liked more than season 4. Guess why? Because it was darker. Say what you will about the plot holes, the Saboteur stuff, whatever. I preferred it because season 4 went way too high with the tone. You guys have heard this a billion times from me. So I wanted to include this because Grant Gustin's saying that it's got to feel more adult and matured and can feel it getting darker and going down that road more, is kind of what I love about these shows. Now, it doesn't have to be dark and brooding because it's The Flash. He's quite a quirky character, but I feel like it really does do best when it blends that season 2, 3, and 1 vibe, because it's more serious and dark and speedstery-esque. You get what I mean. That's what I live for with The Flash. So that is mainly everything, guys. I know this video has been a long one. You know me, I like to blurt out my thoughts. I hope I kind of covered everything there is to kind of say mainly about The Flash. I'm sure there's been other stuff said in the back kind of rooms, you know, where they talk to press about things, where they kind of say the same stuff that they've said on the panel, but sometimes things slip through the cracks that the actors say about what's happening. So maybe that has been done, and if that has been done to an amazing extent, be sure to know that there will be another video, and there will be other videos coming anyway. But like this video if you did enjoy it. Most importantly, let me know what you thought of all of this new stuff about The Flash. What do you think about the main villain? What do you think about, you know, who do you think is going to be the second main villain, and all of that good stuff. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you speedsters in the next video, because there's going to be a bunch more, because it is Comic-Con time. So it's a lot of videos. I love them.